As a student, I once met a girl by chance whose life story is worthy of a novel or even a Hollywood film. After a lecture, I was heading off to run some errands. I decided, as usual, to take a shortcut through a small wooded area. But, to my surprise, the only path was blocked by a long trench. They were laying pipes. Confused, I looked around and saw a beautiful young woman behind me, about 20 years old. She had straight, long blonde hair and striking blue eyes. I asked her first, "Do you happen to know how to get around this trench?" She replied that she was new in the area and didn't know her way around either. Her voice was slightly husky. Her voice, manners, and appearance all gave the impression of someone very self-assured. We started looking for a new route together and began talking. I learned she owned a small shop in the city center. She was a year younger than me and had recently moved to the city from a small village. We decided to meet again the next day. That's how our acquaintance began. Once again, youth and hormones created the illusion that she was the one, the unique, the irreplaceable. A few times a week, she'd bring a bag of fruit from her shop to my dorm room. We would make love quickly, drink tea, and then she would leave. One time I watched her play the piano at a friend's place. It was amusing to hear her talk about her perception of reality. She said that for as long as she could remember, even as a child, she always wondered, why was I born in this place, among these people? She told me she couldn't befriend anyone, neither relatives nor classmates. Everyone around her seemed primitive. The village itself was unbearable. She knew for sure that when she grew up, she would leave and live in a completely different world. Instead of interacting with the locals, she preferred to read classic novels, diligently do her homework, and practice music. People sensed her detachment and noticed her good manners and innate elegance. They considered her arrogant and snobbish. Even her teachers treated her differently. For example, one of them announced, "Tomorrow, Class 8B and Tatiana Molchanova will go on a trip." She was not seen as part of the group. Far from being upset by this, she even enjoyed it. Although I was older and a man, I felt that she was much stronger than me, stronger in character. Willpower, discipline, confidence, and intellect. She had a broad worldview. She felt comfortable with me because I silently accepted her superiority. What I admired most was her business acumen. At 20, she had taken out a loan and opened her own shop, a proper store with employees. That's something not everyone can do. Our relationship lasted for about 6 months. It ended when she went on vacation to Dubai around 1993. She invited me, "If you want, come with me. I'll pay for our hotel, but you'll have to get your own plane ticket. Ask your relatives for money, you're a man, and it would be awkward for me to cover all your expenses." It felt awkward for me too, so I declined. This led to a small argument. Deep down, I had always been slightly uncomfortable with her financial superiority. She left for Dubai and never came back, not in 2 weeks, not in a year. Started dating another girl, who happened to have the same name. I graduated, changed jobs 3 times. One day, while working as a salesperson for Spanish bathroom fixtures, I was sitting at the counter, studying English with a dictionary. I was planning to move to Cyprus. It was the end of the workday. Suddenly, without looking up, I saw a floor-length silver fox coat. Then well-manicured fingers with diamond rings tapping the counter playfully. Then came a familiar husky voice. "Hello, Alej." I looked up. It was Tanya. "Hi, Tanya. Where have you been?" I asked. "I came from London for a week," she replied. "Maybe we can have dinner together." We hadn't seen each other in 5 years. I invited her to my place. She waited for me to finish work. I bought champagne, and we went to my apartment. Over dinner, she told me her incredible story, which I'll recount in her own words.
"Remember how I invited you to Dubai? On the 3rd day there, I was offered a job at a luxury car showroom. The owner said he needed a beautiful, Russian-speaking salesperson like me because of the influx of wealthy buyers from the former Soviet Union. He offered $3,000 a month plus 1.5% commission per car sold, free apartment rent, and a luxury used car for personal use. That was a fortune back then. My shop in Russia barely made $1,500 a month and came with constant problems, deliveries, inspections, taxes. I didn't hesitate long. I learned how to sell elite cars and quickly got the hang of dealing with our countrymen. I chose a Lexus LS 500 for myself. My income reached around $7,500 per month. I was satisfied except for my lack of a personal life. I turned down offers from rich but crude men. Then I met an older man, an English archaeologist. He was in the UA with an international team working on excavations. There was a 40-year age gap between us, but I loved listening to him. He was from another world. I had never met anyone so intelligent, educated, and refined. Our friendship turned romantic. He became my confidant, lover, mentor, and protector. Eventually, he proposed. He promised a life in London without work, full of travel and luxury. I knew he was wealthy, but didn't understand the full extent. He never talked about it, and I didn't ask. But when I arrived in London, I was stunned. He lived in a castle, came from an aristocratic family, had a large staff, and an enormous antique collection. I accepted his proposal. His family was shocked. They refused to speak to me. His son was older than I was. Despite everything, my husband was happy. When introducing me to his friends, he would say, "As you know, I have a vast collection. And this is the jewel of it, my Russian wife, Tanya." I'd extend my hand, all dressed up and sparkling with diamonds. But I can't say I was happy. Gym, salon, shopping, back to the castle. The days dragged on, and the gray London skies didn't help. We didn't live together long. One morning, I woke up first as usual and left the room. When he didn't come down for breakfast, I went to wake him, but he had already passed away in his sleep. There were doctors, the police, suspicious relatives, funerals, and lawyers. His family insisted I had no right to anything. I fought them in court. In the end, I received half of the money from his Swiss bank deposit. They kept the castle and the antiques. What I got was more than enough for a lifetime. Now I'm back in Russia to buy a place for my mother and sister. Then I'll head to Zurich and travel along the Mediterranean coast in search of a place better than London.
That evening we drank several bottles of champagne. She spoke, and I listened. In the morning, she left. I never saw her again. Later, after moving to Cyprus, I found her contact. She was already married to a Spanish aristocrat and had a daughter. Her story repeated itself. Love, a wedding, the upper class, a castle, and millions. One day, I was driving with my future wife. We were in a good mood, on our way to a seaside restaurant. The phone rang. It was a Spanish number. I heard that husky voice again. I hadn't said a word yet, but I instantly knew it was another woman. Tanya continued, "Is this a good time to talk? If not, I can call back later." "No," I said firmly. "Go ahead. Has it been 5 years again? How are you?" "I'm divorced," she replied. "He was a wealthy aristocrat, wasn't he?" I asked jokingly. "Yes," she answered. "You got half, didn't you?" I teased. "Yes," she said again, quickly changing the subject. "I have a proposal. I'm divorced. I have a daughter. Maybe we can try living together. In any city or country we like. What do you say?" My response was blunt. My partner sitting next to me understood everything. Postponing the conversation wasn't an option, so I answered loudly for both of them to hear. "Tanya, I'm doing well. I'm currently going to dinner with a woman I love. I'm not going to change anything." She snapped back at me, her voice sharp with irritation. "I'm sorry to bother you. Goodbye." Then came the dial tone. I understand what it must have taken for her to make that call. My answer surely hurt her, but everything happened as it did. I regret my harshness. On the other hand, a direct no was better than vague politeness and false hope. More than 20 years have passed since that call. I've tried to find her through social media but had no luck. Tanya's fate is extraordinary. Few people live such a life. In today's world, many women strive like predators, chasing goals with relentless effort. But Tanya's life had a strange harmony. It seemed as if she was simply meant to receive everything with little struggle. When I reflect on it, I find it hard to believe it was all mere coincidence. She certainly knew how to make use of her gifts, beauty, youth, and intellect. And perhaps it was something innate, a wide perspective from birth, or even genetic memory. There's something profound about being born in a forgotten provincial place. It gives you a powerful push out of the nest and into the wide world. And if someone has determination, strength of character, and intellect, then nothing is impossible. We like to think we steer our own destinies, but sometimes life arranges the pieces before we know they've moved. Tanya's story is not just a journey from village to castle, it's a parable of transformation. Was it fate? Was it choice? Most likely both. But it proves one thing for sure. When will and vision meet, life listens.